Hey guys, tonight we find ourselves not in a battle or a strange land, but in a place of quiet, predictable order. You're in your cabin aboard a British merchant ship in the year 1718. The only sounds are the gentle creak of the timbers and the scratch of your quill across a heavy ledger. The air smells of ink, paper, and the faint, sweet scent of the sugar barrels in the hold. Everything is accounted for. Every number is in its place. Your world is one of logic and commerce, a fragile bubble of civilization floating on the vast Caribbean Sea. But outside this cabin, the law is 1,000 miles away. And let's be honest, a man of ledgers and ink has little value to the men of swords and gunpowder who hunt these waters. Your chances of surviving the encounter to come are slim to none. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. As always, I'd love to see where in the world you're listening from, so please drop your city and local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. June 5th, 1718. Position: approximately 150 leagues east of Barbados. The winds remain fair out of the southeast, the seas calm. The accounts for the Mayhew and Sons sugar consignment are balanced to the farthing. All cargo is stowed and secure. By my calculation, if this weather holds, we shall make landfall at Bristol in 6 weeks' time. It is by all accounts a perfect voyage. Your world is a universe of straight lines on paper and the satisfying heft of a sealed ledger. Here, in the small but orderly confines of your cabin aboard the merchant brig the Nightingale, everything has its place. The afternoon sun filters through the stern window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the still air and casting a golden glow on the dark, polished wood of your desk. The only sounds are the rhythmic scratch of your quill, the gentle creak of the ship's timbers, and the distant melodic calls of the sailors trimming the sails. Every day is governed by the ship's bell, a predictable chime that marks the passing of the watches and the routines of your life. It is a symphony of quiet competence, and you are its composer, the one who ensures that chaos is kept at bay by the simple, powerful magic of numbers and ink. You run a finger down the neat columns of the cargo manifest, the crisp paper cool beneath your touch. This document is the ship's soul, and you know its contents by heart. 200 barrels of the finest raw Barbadian sugar for the great refineries in Bristol, their sweet, molasses-like scent faintly perfuming the air in the hold. 40 crates of precious indigo dye from the Spanish Main, a king's ransom in blue, destined for the textile mills of England, and in a specially secured locker, a small, heavy chest containing the personal correspondence and financial bonds of Lord Ashworth, your employer. You are the guardian of this floating treasure, its value neatly tallied in the final column of your book. It is a responsibility you take with the utmost seriousness. Closing the ledger with a soft thud, you step out of your cabin for a breath of fresh air. The deck is a picture of peaceful industry. Sailors sit in small groups, mending a sail or carving bits of wood. The ship's captain stands at the helm, his gaze fixed on the endless blue horizon. The sails are full, the sun is warm, and the Nightingale cuts cleanly through the gentle swell of the Atlantic. There is no sign of another ship, no hint of any danger. There is only the vast, empty beauty of the sea and the quiet, predictable purpose of your vessel. You return to your cabin as the sun begins to set, feeling a sense of deep, orderly satisfaction. The ship is secure, the accounts are balanced, the world makes sense, a perfect, fragile sense. The peace of the afternoon is shattered by a cry from the crow's nest. It is not the usual melodic call of a sailor changing watch. This is sharp, cracked with an unfamiliar urgency. Sail off the port bow. You step out onto the deck, joining the other men who are shading their eyes, looking west. At first, It is just a speck, a smudge of white against the blue. The captain of the Nightingale, a steady man named Davies, raises his spyglass. There is a long silence. The men murmur amongst themselves. A trading partner? A fellow British vessel? She's a sloop, Captain Davies says, his voice tight, lowering the spyglass. And she's fast, too fast. An uneasy quiet falls over the deck. You feel a cold prickle of dread on your skin. Sloops are favoured by the Coast Guard and by pirates. The vessel grows larger with an unnatural speed, a predator closing on its prey. She is low in the water, her sails are dirty grey, and she moves with a terrifying, purposeful grace. Then, through your own small spyglass, you see it. A dark flag climbing their mainmast. It unfurls in the wind, a stark, horrifying image against the clear sky, a white skull above two crossed bones, the Jolly Roger. The illusion of civilization evaporates in a single heart-stopping moment. The ocean is no longer a highway for commerce. It is a hunting ground. All hands to arms. Captain Davies roars, but the order is laced with desperation. Your crew is made of merchants and sailors, not fighters. They scramble to the ship's two small cannons, fumbling with powder and shot. The pirates do not wait. A puff of white smoke blossoms from their bow, and a heartbeat later, the world dissolves into a deafening roar. An invisible force slams into the ship, throwing you to the deck. The air fills with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the catastrophic sound of splintering oak. You look up and see a gaping, jagged hole in the mainmast. The pirates are not aiming to sink you, they are crippling you. A second shot tears through the rigging, shredding the sails. Your ship, the proud Nightingale, is now a wounded bird, dead in the water. The pirate sloop closes the remaining distance in minutes. You can hear them now, a savage chorus of shouts and war cries. Grappling hooks fly through the air, biting deep into the railing of your vessel with a solid, final thud. The pirates swarm over the side. They are not the villains of storybooks. They are terrifyingly real. They are sun-blackened, scarred and wiry men, moving with a fluid, deadly confidence. They carry cutlasses, axes, and pistols. The fighting is short, brutal, and utterly one-sided. Your crew's resistance collapses in a bloody heap of screams and surrendered weapons. You scramble back to your cabin, your heart hammering against your ribs. You don't know why. There is no escape. You brace yourself against your desk, the neat, orderly world of your ledgers now seeming like a foolish dream. The door to your cabin doesn't open. It explodes inward in a shower of splintered wood. A man stands there, silhouetted against the smoke-filled daylight. He is larger than you imagined, smelling of sweat, sea salt, and burnt powder. His beard is matted, a pistol is tucked into his belt, and the cutlass in his hand is stained with fresh blood. He grins, and you see the dark gaps where teeth used to be. He lunges forward, sweeping your neat stacks of paper, your ink pot, and your entire world of numbers onto the floor with one violent motion. Your life, as Alistair Finch, clerk, is over. You are hauled from your ruined cabin onto the deck of the Nightingale. The scene is one of methodical pillage. Pirates move with a practiced efficiency, stripping your vessel of anything valuable. Barrels of sugar and crates of indigo are swung across the gap onto the deck of the Vengeance. Your captain and the surviving crew are bound and huddled together, their faces a mixture of shock and despair. A rough hand shoves you forward. "Move, Clark." You are forced across a wooden plank onto the pirate's sloop. The moment your foot touches the deck of the Vengeance, you know you have crossed into another world. Unlike the clean, orderly planks of the Nightingale, this deck is stained with tar, old blood, and filth. The air is thick with the smell of stale rum and unwashed bodies. This is not a vessel for commerce. It is a predator's den. As darkness falls, the work of plundering ends, and the celebration begins. The deck of the Vengeance transforms into a vision from a nightmare. Lanterns are lit, casting long, dancing shadows that turn the pirates into grotesque caricatures. They smash open a cask of your ship's finest rum and pass around brimming tankards, their voices rising in a loud, discordant chorus of sea shanties. You are tied loosely to the base of the mast, a spectator to your own ruin. The pirates feast on your captain's salted beef, dance clumsy jigs with stolen bottles in hand, and argue loudly over the division of the most trivial spoils. It is a world without rules, without civility, without any of the quiet order that has defined your entire existence. This is pure, raw, chaotic freedom, and it is the most terrifying thing you have ever witnessed. A massive figure detaches himself from the chaos and stumbles towards you. It is the one-eyed brute from the boarding party, the one called Finn. His face is flushed with drink, and his single eye glints with a malevolent glee in the lantern light. Well, he slurs, leaning down so his face is inches from yours. His breath is a foul wave of rum and rotten teeth. Look at the little pen pusher, all tied up. Your fine coat won't save you here, gentlemen. He roughly grabs the lapel of your coat, the fabric tearing with a soft rip. Soft hands, he growls, gripping your wrist and showing your hand to the men nearby. Never seen a day's real work. We have rules for parasites like you on the Vengeance. He draws a long, wicked-looking knife from his belt, its edge catching the light. We teach them what it's like to bleed. He presses the cold flat of the blade against your cheek. Your heart hammers in your chest. A cold sweat breaks out across your skin. This is it. This is how it ends. That's enough, Finn. The voice is quiet, but it cuts through the drunken noise like a razor. Captain Morgan is standing a few feet away, watching, an unlit pipe in his hand. Just having a bit of fun with the cargo, Captain. Finn grumbles, but he lowers the knife. He is not cargo, Morgan says, his voice dangerously calm. He is an asset. For now, go drink yourself into a stupor with the others, but leave him be. Finn gives you one last, hateful glare, a promise of future violence, before spitting on the deck near your feet and lurching back into the celebration. You close your eyes, but the images are burned into your mind. The firelight, the leering faces, the glint of the knife. This is your new world. There is no logic here, no balance sheet. There is only the law of the strong and the terror of the weak. The man you were this morning, the scholar, the gentleman of Bristol, is a ghost. And you are just a body, tied to a mast, praying you live to see the dawn. The dawn arrives, not with hope, but with a throbbing headache and the raw ache of ropes chafing your wrists. The pirates are slow to stir, their drunken celebration having left them groaning and sullen. You are cut down from the mast by a pirate who doesn't speak, only shoves you towards the stern. Your destination is the captain's cabin. You expect this is the final walk, the place where your fate will be decided. The captain's cabin on the Vengeance is not the sty you expected. While cramped and smelling of stale tobacco smoke, there is a semblance of order here that is absent on the deck. A large detailed chart of the Caribbean is spread across a table, weighted down at the corners with daggers. A shelf holds a small collection of stolen leather-bound books alongside a brass astrolabe and a spyglass. This is the den of the ship's brain, not just its brawn. Captain Gravehand Morgan sits behind the table, cleaning a pistol with an oily rag. He doesn't look up as you're shoved inside. "Leave us," he says to your guard, and the door thuds shut, leaving you alone with him. He gestures with the pistol towards one of your own ledgers, which lies on the table amidst the charts. "Read," he commands, his voice a low gravel. Your voice trembles at first, the words catching in your dry throat. But the familiar text is an anchor in a sea of terror. You read the entry for the Mayhew and Sons sugar consignment, your voice growing steadier as the rhythm of the language takes over. When you finish, he is silent for a moment, his eyes assessing you. "So, the rumors are true. You can make sense of the scribbles." He leans forward, the interrogation beginning in earnest. "Tell me, Mr. Finch, The indigo dye from the Nightingale. What is its value in London? You hesitate, and he raises an eyebrow. I can assure you, he says softly, that a lie will be far more dangerous for you than the truth. You fight for your life with the only weapons you have: facts. At current market rates, around £400 sterling per crate, sir. But it's perishable. It would fetch a higher, quicker price in a place like Port Royal, perhaps £300, but with less risk. He nods slowly, absorbing the information. The questions continue, sharp and precise. He asks about the other ships in your convoy, their routes, their cargo. He asks about the best merchants in Barbados to ransom personal effects to. He is not a simple brute. He is a businessman, and his business is piracy. Finally, he leans back, a calculated look in his eyes. Through the thin cabin wall, you can hear the angry, drunken shouting of one-eyed Finn on the deck. Morgan hears it too. Finn and his ilk see only a soft-handed gentleman, the captain says, gesturing vaguely towards the deck. They see a throat to be slit. An easy piece of sport. He levels his gaze at you. I see an opportunity. Every man on this ship can swing a cutlass. How many can read a manifest? How many can calculate the profit margin on indigo dye in Amsterdam versus Tortuga? He stands and walks around the desk, stopping in front of you. Your life as a prisoner is over, Mr. Finch. I am promoting you. You are now the clerk of the Vengeance. You will keep my accounts. You will read my charts. You will inventory my plunder. You will make yourself useful. And in return for your usefulness, he adds, his voice dropping to a whisper, I will keep Finn from skinning you for a wineskin. Do we have an agreement? You can only nod, your mind reeling. You step back out into the harsh sunlight of the deck, blinking. You are alive, but your life is no longer your own. It is now an entry in Captain Morgan's ledger, an asset to be managed, a tool to be used. You have survived the brutes, for now only to be owned by the pragmatist, and you do not know which fate is worse. The next day, a strange formality settles over the ship. The drunken chaos is gone, replaced by an air of serious, sober business. The entire crew is summoned to the main deck. You are led out from the captain's cabin and made to stand near the mainmast, a prisoner on display, the subject of the day's final, most important transaction. In the center of the gathering stands Silas, the Judge Croft, the quartermaster. He is not a man of grand pronouncements like the captain, nor a brute like Finn. He is old and weathered, with a quiet, steady authority that seems to emanate from him. He stands beside an open sea chest, filled with the gold and silver coins, the jewelry, and the valuable trinkets plundered from the Nightingale. In his hand he holds a tattered, wax-stained piece of parchment. "The account is open," he calls out, his voice a gravelly rumble. "We divide the prize, as is our right, according to the articles." He begins to read from the parchment, and you listen with a kind of horrified fascination. You, a man of contracts and legal documents, are now witnessing the law of the lawless. Article 5, he reads, "Every man shall have an equal share of the prize." Article 5, the captain and the quartermaster shall receive 2 shares. The master gunner, the boatswain, and the surgeon, a share and a half. He continues down the list, a bizarrely orderly system for dividing stolen wealth. He sets aside portions for the ship's fund, for compensation to men who lose a limb in battle. It is a society with rules, you realize, as structured and binding as any you have known. He then presides over the division, his eye missing nothing, ensuring every man gets his due. When the last coin has been counted out, he gestures towards you. That leaves one final piece of the prize to be accounted for. The clerk, Mr. Finch. One-eyed Finn steps forward, a menacing grin on his face. He's no prize, he's a liability, he spits. A gentleman's spy in our midst. We should give him a taste of the lash and maroon him on the next sandbar. That's the only profit we'll get from his kind. A murmur of agreement runs through some of the crew. Your heart turns to ice. But then Captain Morgan steps forward, positioning himself between you and Finn. He doesn't address the brute directly, but speaks to the whole crew. You've all got your shares today, Morgan begins, his voice calm and reasonable. Good plunder from a fat merchantman. But how many fat merchantmen have we let slip by because we mistook them for warships? How much plunder have we lost because we didn't know its true value? He turns and points at you. This man is not a fighter. He is a tool. A cutlass can take a prize, but a quill can tell us which prize is worth taking. He can read the manifests of ships we sight from a distance. He can keep our accounts so no man is cheated. He can write my demands for ransom so that a governor might actually pay them. He lets his words sink in, then delivers the final, perfect argument. I am not asking you to like him. I am not asking you to trust him. I am telling you that with him, every man's share on the next prize will be larger. He is an investment. It is a battle between two of piracy's core tenets: raw, hateful prejudice and calculated, all-consuming greed. Silas Croft raises a hand for silence. The captain has made his case. The matter must be put to a vote, as the articles demand. All those in favour of keeping the clerk for the good of the company say aye. A loud chorus of ayes rings out, led by the captain and his closest men. All those against? Silas calls. Finn and his cronies roar, nay, but their voices are a clear minority. Silas nods, the matter settled. He turns his gaze to you, his eyes clinical and devoid of pity. The company has spoken, Mr. Finch. You will serve the captain. You will not receive a share. You will not have a vote. You are not one of us, but you are under the company's protection. So long, he adds with a grim emphasis, as you prove to be a profitable investment. The meeting is adjourned. The pirates disperse, clutching their shares, their minds already on the rum and cards that will soon separate them from their new wealth. You are left standing by the mast, no longer just a captive, but something new. You have been legally processed, democratically voted upon, and formally integrated into their brutal society. You are a slave whose bondage was ratified by a majority vote. And as you look at the hostile face of Finn across the deck, you understand that your life now has a price, and it must be earned every single day. June 28th, 1718. It has been 3 weeks since the vote that saved your life. You now have a title, a purpose, and a place. Your place is a small shadowed corner of the captain's cabin, your desk, a sea chest that rocks with the constant motion of the ship. Your purpose is to serve the man who spared you. And your title, you think with a grim internal irony, is Keeper of the Devil's Ledger. Captain Morgan provides you with a new account book, ironically bound in fine Spanish leather, taken from your own captain's quarters. He gives you a quill, an ink pot, and your orders. Every item from the Nightingale, he commands, his voice leaving no room for argument. Every bolt of cloth, every barrel of sugar, every personal effect. I want it catalogued. I want to know its worth in Port Royal and in Nassau. This ship is a business, Mr. Finch. You are my accounts department. And so, you begin the most surreal task of your life. You dip your quill in ink, the familiar motion a comfort in this terrifying new world. Your hand, steady and practiced, forms the elegant, looping script of a professional clerk. One crate containing 40 bolts of fine silk crimson dye origin, the Orient. The words are clean, the numbers precise. You omit the detail that the crate is stained with the blood of the first mate who tried to defend it. 16 barrels, Jamaican rum, superior quality. You do not write that you can still hear the drunken songs the pirates sang as they smashed open the first of these barrels on the night of your capture. You work for hours, for days. You are bringing your own meticulous, ordered mind to the chaotic plunder of piracy. Your ledger is a masterpiece of bookkeeping, a perfect record of violence and theft. This juxtaposition is a constant, quiet torment. You are the respectable face of their savage enterprise. During this time, you are rarely left completely alone. A guard is often posted near the cabin door, and it is usually the young sailor Billy. He is unlike the others. He lacks their hardened cruelty, his eyes still wide with a kind of nervous awe at the life he has fallen into. He brings your meager meals of hardtack and salted fish, lingering for a moment each time, watching you work. "Is it true you can make any word you want with that stick?" he whispers one afternoon, nodding at your quill. You look up from your work and simply nod. He stares at the ledger, at the mysterious, powerful symbols marching across the page. "My Da was a fisherman," he says quietly, as if sharing a great secret. "Never did learn his letters. Said the sea was the only book he needed to read." He looks away, a flicker of sadness in his eyes. He is the first person on this ship to speak to you not as a prisoner, or an asset, or a target, but as another man. A cautious, fragile bridge begins to form between your two solitary worlds. You close the ledger as the sun sets, the light from the stern window fading. The page is a flawless accounting of the day's inventory. The profits are clearly tabulated. You are surviving. You are adapting. And you realize, with a cold knot of dread in your stomach, that you are becoming very good at this job. You are the man who gives their chaos a respectable, numerical face. You are no longer just a captive. You have become the devil's own clerk. July 15th, 1718. As your utility has been proven, the invisible chains of your captivity have loosened. You are no longer confined to the captain's cabin. You are allowed to move about the deck, a silent, observant ghost in this violent world. You've learned that to survive here is to understand the ship, not just as a vessel, but as a living body, with its own rhythms, its own ailments, and its own unlikely healers. Your first lesson in this new anatomy comes from the man they call Chips. He is the ship's carpenter, a quiet, sinewy man who seems to be in a constant, silent conversation with the Vengeance. While other men drink, gamble, or sleep, you see Chips walking the deck, his calloused hands resting on the mast, his ear pressed against a bulkhead. He taps at a plank, listening for the telltale thud of rot. He inspects the tarred seams, his eyes tracing lines that are invisible to you. He is the ship's physician, diagnosing its stresses and patching its wounds with a quiet, tireless competence. You realize that without his endless work, all of Morgan's ambition and Finn's brutality would already be at the bottom of the sea. He is the foundation upon which their chaos is built. Your second lesson is far more brutal. It comes on a hot, windless afternoon. A sudden scream cuts through the air, followed by a sickening crunch and a chorus of panicked shouts. Two of the younger pirates, foolishly practicing their cutlass work without proper care, have made a grave error. One lies on the deck, howling, his left forearm bent at an unnatural angle, the white of shattered bone visible through a horrific mess of blood and muscle. The crew parts as Sawbones Jones, the ship's surgeon, pushes his way through. He is a man you have mostly seen in a drunken stupor, but now his eyes are shockingly clear and focused. This is his domain. "Hold him down!" Sawbones roars, and four pirates pin the screaming man to the deck. "Billy, the rum!" The young sailor scrambles to obey, bringing a bottle. Sawbones uncorks it, pours a splash onto his own hands, and then forces the rest down the injured man's throat. "Drink it all," he commands. You'll need it. He opens his medical kit, and you feel a wave of nausea. These are not the delicate instruments of a London physician. This is a butcher's toolkit. A heavy cleaver, a rusted iron hook, and a small fine-toothed saw. Sawbones inspects the mangled arm for no more than a few seconds. "It's lost," he declares, his voice devoid of pity. "It's the arm or the man, and the captain has no use for a dead man." You watch, frozen, as he takes the saw from his kit. There is no science here, no delicate theory of medicine. There is only a swift, brutal calculation of survival. The pirates holding the man down look away. The sound of the saw on bone is a sound you will carry with you for the rest of your life. It is over in less than a minute. Sawbones then takes a heated iron from the galley's fire and cauterizes the stump, the hiss, and the smell of burning flesh, causing several of the hardened pirates to retch. The surgeon works with a terrifying, practiced efficiency. You, a man of theoretical knowledge, can only stand by, horrified by the brutality, yet grimly impressed by the skill. This is the reality of medicine in a world without options. That night, you write in your journal by the light of a swaying lantern. 2 men keep the vengeance alive. One is the quiet hammer of chips, which preserves the wood. The other is the bloody saw of Jones, which preserves the flesh. They are the high priests of a brutal religion, survival at any cost, and you, with your neat columns and balanced accounts, you realize you are becoming a priest of it too. You are managing the ship's third essential element, its profit. Your tools are just cleaner. August 3rd, 1718, the ship plies the warm, empty waters of the Caribbean. A sense of weary routine has once again settled over the crew. Your life has found a strange, precarious balance. You are the clerk, the record keeper. You are neither pirate nor prisoner, but a tolerated ghost who lives in the margins of their world. Your continued survival depends on your utility, a fact you are never allowed to forget. Your next task is a tedious one, assigned by Captain Morgan. He points you to a large, battered sea chest in the corner of his cabin, a collection of documents and books taken from various prizes. "Go through that," he orders. "Most of it is worthless prayer books and letters. Burn them. But see if there are any charts or manifests of value." You spend the day in the stuffy, humid cabin, sifting through the detritus of other men's lives. You find love letters never delivered, merchants' accounts that end mid-sentence, a book of Spanish poetry. It is a melancholy task, handling the last remnants of worlds shattered by the men you now serve. Near the bottom of the chest, your fingers brush against a leather-bound volume, swollen and stiff from old water damage. You pull it out. The Spanish royal seal is faintly visible on the cover. It is a ship's log. As you carefully open the brittle pages, you see the vessel's name at the top, La Sombra, the Shadow. This is the log of the very ship you are on, from its former life as a Spanish guardacosta, a Coast Guard sloop. You are holding the journal of the ship's ghost. For a man of records, the find is irresistible. You begin to read. The early entries are formal, almost boring. Weather patterns, patrol routes, supplies loaded. The handwriting of its captain, a man named Mateo Vargas, is as precise and orderly as your own. You feel a strange kinship with this man, another servant of law and order on this same vessel. But as you read further, into the log's final weeks before its capture, the tone changes. The entries become shorter, more obsessive. Captain Vargas writes not of patrols, but of a single all-consuming hunt. He never names his prize, referring to it only with code words, the dowry of Maracaibo, the Infanta's pearl. You read of a ship sailing on a secret route at an unusual time of year, carrying, as Vargas puts it, a treasure to make a king weep. He writes of a special chart, a route through treacherous, shallow passages that a larger warship could never navigate. Your heart begins to beat faster. This is not a state galleon on an official treasure fleet. This is something else, something secret. Tucked into the back cover of the logbook, you find it. A small, hand-drawn chart folded into a tiny square. You carefully unfold it. It is not a map of the known shipping lanes. It is a map of a hidden path, a shortcut through a dangerous archipelago marked with depths and landmarks. On the back, a single notation in Vargas's hand, Infanta. Sails with the new moon in September. The pieces click into place in your mind. The Infanta is likely a private vessel, carrying the dowry of a Spanish nobleman's daughter to her wedding in the Old World. An unofficial, unregistered treasure ship, sailing a secret route to avoid the very pirates who now command this vessel. The Spanish captain was hunting it for the glory of Spain, but Morgan's crew captured him and his ship before he could find it, and they never knew what they had. The knowledge sits in your hands, a terrifying weight. This is a secret that could make every man on this ship rich beyond his wildest dreams. It is a path to a vulnerable, unsuspecting prize. You look up from the chart, your mind racing. This knowledge is power. It could be the key to your freedom. If you give this to Morgan, you would become the most valuable man on the ship. You could bargain for your life, for a share, for passage home. But the cost would be another Nightingale, another crew of innocent men slaughtered, another life like your own utterly destroyed. And you would be the architect of it all. To stay silent is to remain a powerless clerk, your life subject to the whims of a brute like Finn. To speak is to become a true accomplice, a planner of piracy, with blood on your hands as surely as if you had wielded the cutlass yourself. You carefully fold the chart and slip it, along with the logbook, deep into a bundle of worthless papers at the bottom of the chest. You will tell the captain you found nothing of value. The ghost of Captain Vargas has handed you a weapon. It is the most powerful weapon on the entire ship, and you are more terrified of it than of any cannon or sword. You have a choice now, and you know that whatever you decide, the man you are will be changed forever. September 3rd, 1718. The new moon is a week from now. The secret chart you found, the ghost of the Spanish captain's ambition, feels like a lead weight in the false bottom of your sea chest. Every morning, you wake with the knowledge that you possess a path to a fortune, and every day, you are forced to live with the consequences of your silence. The long, hot weeks of August have bled into a sweltering September, and the sea has given us nothing. The luck of the Vengeance has run dry. The change is slow at first, then rapid. The easy confidence of the crew after the last prize has evaporated under the relentless Sunday. The ship has become a hungry beast, and its hunger is making it mean. The first casualty is the rum ration. Quartermaster Silas Croft, his face a grim mask, announces that the casks are low. From now on, it is 1 cup a day, per man, and no more. The grumbling is immediate and venomous. Rum is the ship's lifeblood, its only true comfort, and now it too is being starved. Then comes the food. The portions of salted beef grow smaller, tougher, and more rancid. The hard-tack biscuits are little more than canvases of weevil tunnels. You watch men who once boasted of their strength now sitting in listless, silent groups, their energy drained by malnutrition, their faces gaunt. The work of the ship becomes sluggish. A kind of lethargy sets in, a quiet rot that is just as dangerous as any storm. In this tense, irritable atmosphere, your presence becomes a focal point for the crew's frustration. You do not haul ropes, you do not climb the rigging, you do not fight. In the simple, brutal calculus of desperate men, you are a useless mouth, a passenger consuming a share you do not earn. One-eyed Finn becomes the vessel for this simmering resentment. He corners you one afternoon as you receive your meager ration. "Look at him," Finn snarls to the men around him, his voice loud enough for all to hear. The captain's little pet gets his biscuit while better men starve. Before you can react, he slaps the hardtack from your hand, and it skitters across the dirty deck. "A clerk's hands are for ink, not for eating," he says, shoving you hard against the mast. "You're bad luck. The sea knows a parasite when it sees one. Ever since you came aboard, our luck has turned." He leans in close, his single eye burning with malice. "When the biscuits run out, we'll see who gets eaten first." Pen pusher. You are saved by the quartermaster's sharp call from across the deck, but the threat lingers in the air, thick and suffocating. You are no longer just an outsider, you are a scapegoat. Even the captain's pragmatism is being worn thin by the long, fruitless hunt. He summons you to his cabin. He is hunched over his charts, a look of deep frustration on his face. He doesn't look at you, but you feel his eyes on you all the same. "Are you certain you found nothing of value in those Spanish logs, Mr. Finch?" he asks, his voice deceptively casual. "A good clerk misses nothing. Our luck must change. Soon." The unspoken message is terrifyingly clear. Your value, and therefore your life, is tied to the ship's success, and the ship is failing. That night, you lie in your hammock, your stomach aching with a hunger that is both real and existential. You are starving along with them, all while the knowledge of the Infanta's dowry is a feast you keep locked away. Your conscience has kept you silent, but your conscience will not protect you from Finn's knife or the captain's cold calculations. The new moon is coming, and you are forced to ask yourself a terrible question. How much longer can you afford to be a good man? September 10th, 1718, the new moon. The date scribbled in the margins of the Spanish captain's log. The hunger on the ship is a sharp, physical pain now, a constant ache in your belly. But it is nothing compared to the gnawing torment in your soul. The crew's eyes follow you everywhere, their gaze is a mixture of contempt and hunger. Finn's threats are a daily ritual, with a terrifying certainty that their patience has run out. Your morality has a price, and you can no longer afford to pay it. The choice is simple and stark. You can die a good man, or you can live as something else. With trembling hands, you retrieve the ghost's legacy from its hiding place. The water-stained logbook of Captain Mateo Vargas and his secret chart. You walk to the captain's cabin, your heart hammering against your ribs. You feel like a man walking to his own execution, but you are in fact fighting for your life. You lay the chart and the logbook on the table in front of Morgan. "Captain," you say, your voice hoarse, "I was mistaken. I have found something." You explain it all, the Spanish captain's hunt, the secret route, the ship named Infanta, and the unofficial treasure she carries. Morgan listens, his expression unreadable. He picks up the chart, his eyes tracing the dangerous, shallow passages. He reads the frantic final entries in the log. A slow, predatory smile spreads across his face. "It is the most terrifying thing you have ever seen. Mr. Finch," he says, looking up at you, his eyes gleaming with a renewed fire. "You have just saved this ship." The transformation is immediate. The news spreads through the Vengeance like wildfire. Despair is replaced by a feverish, greedy excitement. The ship has a purpose again. Morgan, with the Spanish chart in hand, barks orders, and the crew, energized by the promise of plunder, leaps to obey. He navigates the treacherous channels with a skill that terrifies and impresses you. And you are no longer the pariah. The crew now looks at you with a new, strange respect. You are the provider, the oracle. Even Finn keeps his distance, his single eye watching you not with simple hate, but with a greedy, calculating suspicion. 2 days later, exactly where the chart predicted, the lookout's cry rings out. Sail. It is a handsome ship, a Spanish galleon, sailing alone. This is the moment your complicity becomes absolute. Captain Morgan summons you to the quarterdeck and hands you his spyglass. The Spaniard was hunting a treasure ship, not a warship, Morgan says, his voice a low growl in your ear. You are the expert on merchantmen, Mr. Finch. Look at her. Her lines, her rigging. Tell me what you see. Is that the Infanta, or is it a navy trap? You raise the spyglass, your hands slick with sweat. You are looking at a ship filled with men just like your former crewmates, sailing under a peaceful sky, and you hold their lives in your hands. You focus the lens, your professional training taking over. She's a private vessel, Captain, you say, your own voice sounding distant and hollow, richly appointed. She's sailing heavy, but her waterline is too high for bulk cargo like sugar or timber. She's fast, but she has too few gun ports for a military escort. You lower the spyglass, sealing their fate. She is exactly what Captain Vargas wrote she was. Excellent work, Mr. Finch, Morgan says with a wolfish grin. He turns to his men. Load the cannons, hoist the colours. You stand frozen on the deck as the black flag is raised. This time you are not a victim watching it rise. You are an accomplice. You watch as the vengeance closes in. You watch the cannons fire, crippling the unsuspecting ship. You hear the screams carry across the water, and they sound like an echo of your own. You see the pirates swarm over the side, a wave of violence you have just unleashed. The sounds of a one-sided battle ring in your ears, but you feel no fear, no shock. Only a profound, chilling emptiness. You made your choice. You chose to survive. The price of your life was the destruction of theirs. As the pirates shout in triumph, you realize the line you thought you would never cross is now a distant speck on the horizon behind you. You are no longer Mr. Alistair Finch, captive. You are a part of the machine. You are a pirate. September 12th, 1718. The sounds of battle have faded, replaced by the rhythmic creak of ropes and the shouts of pirates at work. The sea is calm, the sky, a brilliant, indifferent blue. You stand on the deck of the Vengeance, a ghost at the feast, and watch as the entrails of the captured galleon, the Infanta, are brought aboard. Your information was correct. Your calculations were precise. And the result is a victory you cannot celebrate. The elation of the crew is a raw, explosive force. They are no longer the starving, desperate men of a week ago. They are kings, conquerors. They haul chests across the planks connecting the two ships, their faces split with giddy, triumphant grins. The plunder is everything the Spanish captain's log promised and more. Heavy chests of Spanish silver coins are cracked open on the deck, their contents shimmering in the sunday, but it is the personal items that turn your stomach. Crates of magnificent silk wedding gowns, bolts of lace and ornate silver mirrors. A jewelry box filled with pearls and emeralds. A monogrammed silver dining seat. This is not the anonymous cargo of a merchant vessel. This is the intimate substance of a noblewoman's future, a life you have just helped to ruin. The pirates handle these delicate items with a careless, almost contemptuous glee, holding up lace veils to their sweaty, bearded faces and roaring with laughter. When the most valuable goods are secured, a new, more somber mood takes hold. The fleeting moment of triumph is over. Now, the dark business begins. Captain Morgan calls a council on the quarterdeck. Silas the quartermaster is there, as is a gloating, one-eyed Finn. The captured Spanish captain and a handful of his officers and noble passengers, including a terrified young woman who must be the owner of the dowry, are held under guard nearby. You are summoned to stand at the edge of the circle, your presence as the clerk now required. The prize is taken, Morgan begins, his voice all business. The question remains, what to do with the ship and its survivors? One-eyed Finn speaks first, wiping his bloody cutlass on his breeches. The answer is simple, he growls. We scuttle the ship, and slit every throat. Dead men tell no tales and leave no witnesses for the navy. A cold murmur of agreement runs through some of the men. It is the simple, brutal logic of self-preservation. But Silas Croft, the quartermaster, shakes his head. "Bad for business, Finn," he says calmly. "Word gets out that we give no quarter, and every ship will fight to the last man. It costs us time, powder, and lives." He gestures to the noble passengers. "They are worth more alive than dead. We ransom the nobles. We maroon the sailors on the next island, give them a fighting chance, as is the custom, and we sell the galleon itself in Tortuga. She's a fine ship." Morgan turns to you. "Mr. Finch," he says, his voice flat, "you are a man of commerce. What is a galleon like the Infanta worth at a discreet port?" The question is a physical blow. You are now being asked to appraise the value of the ship you helped them capture, intact, with her rigging and papers. "Perhaps 2,000 pieces of 8, you manage to say, your voice a dry whisper. Morgan nods, absorbing the information. He looks from Finn's brutish certainty to Silas's cold pragmatism. "Silas is right," he declares. "Killing passengers is a fool's game. We will hold the lady and her father for ransom. A message will be sent to the governor of Havana." He then looks at the captured Spanish captain, but resistance must have a price. He gives a short, sharp nod to his men. "Make an example of the captain. The rest of the crew goes ashore on the next spit of land." His decision is final. It is a terrifying blend of mercy and cruelty, all dictated by a cold, financial logic. You watch as they lead the Spanish captain away, and you feel nothing but a profound, chilling emptiness. This is the reality of the victory you enabled. It is not a moment of glory. It is a series of grim, practical decisions. The elation of the pirates has already vanished, replaced by the logistical concerns of managing their new human and material assets. You have shown them the path to this treasure, and now you must stand by and witness them liquidate it, piece by bloody piece. October 3rd, 1718. The elation from the capture of the Infanta has faded, replaced by the mundane realities of consumption. The rum has been drunk, the finest foods consumed, and the pirates are growing restless once more. But there is a more pressing problem. The Vengeance has grown sluggish. She feels heavy in the water, slow to respond to the helm. Her hull, a year at sea without proper maintenance, has become a garden of barnacles and seaworm, a shaggy green coat that is strangling her speed. And for a pirate sloop, speed is life. Captain Morgan finds what he's looking for after days of searching: a hidden cove on an unnamed island, protected by a treacherous reef that would tear the bottom out of any deep-drafted Navy frigate. It is the perfect place to perform the back-breaking, essential ritual of the careenage. There are no gentlemen during a careenage. Silas Croft makes this clear on the first morning. "Every man works," he announces, his eyes sweeping over the crew and pausing, for just a moment, on you. The ship does not care if your hands are soft. She only cares that she is made clean. You are forced into a world of raw, physical labor that is utterly alien to you. The work is Herculean. First, the ship must be emptied. You haul dusty powder kegs, heavy cannons, and endless barrels of provisions from the hold, your muscles screaming in protest. Your soft clerk's hands, accustomed only to the light touch of a quill, are rubbed raw and blistered within the first hour. Then comes the great heaving. Ropes and pulleys are attached to the mainmast, anchored to massive trees on the shore. The entire crew, grunting and chanting in unison, pulls with all their might, slowly, painstakingly, heeling the great vessel over onto her side. The ship groans, her timbers screaming as if in agony. until half of her hull is exposed to the sun, a slimy, alien landscape of marine growth. You are given a crude iron scraper and shoved towards the hull alongside the other men. You spend the rest of the day waist-deep in the warm, foul-smelling tidal mud, the tropical sun beating down on your back. The stench is overwhelming, a putrid combination of rotting seaweed, dead shellfish, and mud. You scrape and sweat, your movements clumsy and inefficient next to the practiced rhythm of the sailors. One-eyed Finn works nearby, occasionally mocking your weakness with a cruel laugh, but he is too consumed by the grueling work to give you his full attention. For the first time, you are not an observer or a clerk. You are simply part of the machine, a pair of aching arms contributing to the whole. You see a different side of these men. You see their incredible strength and endurance. You watch Chips, the old carpenter, moving with a quiet authority, directing the replacement of a rotten plank. You see the deep, practical knowledge they have of their vessel, a knowledge that has nothing to do with charts or ledgers. They are not just a chaotic mob. They are a crew of brutally effective sailors. That evening, you collapse onto the sand, every muscle in your body a fiery ache. You look at your hands. They are unrecognizable, caked with mud, crisscrossed with cuts, and blistered raw. They are no longer the hands of Mr. Alistair Finch, Clerk of Bristol. They are the hands of a common labourer. You watch the pirates gathered around a fire, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten as they share a ration of rum. You realize the freedom they so fiercely cherish is not a life of idle plunder. It is a life of constant, grinding labour, a relentless battle against the decay of their ship and their own fortunes, punctuated by brief, violent moments of acquisition. In a strange and painful way, you have finally earned a place among them, not through your intellect but through your sweat and your shared misery. October 18th, 1718. The Vengeance is whole again. She floats gracefully in the calm waters of the cove, her hull clean and black with fresh tar, her rigging taut. She is a fast, deadly predator once more. The grueling work is done. The crew, their bodies aching but their spirits high, gathers on the white sand beach. The treasure of the Infanta, so long stored in the ship's hold, is about to be spent. Silas Croft, the quartermaster, presides over the final payout. He stands on a sea chest, doling out shares of silver and gold with a grim fairness. The men who days ago were united in shared labour are now a collection of individuals, each clutching his own small fortune. Captain Morgan addresses them, his voice booming across the beach. "You have worked like dogs," he shouts, raising a bottle of rum. "Now you will have your reward. 3 days of liberty. No watches, no duties. Eat, drink, and be damned." A roar of approval goes up, and the celebration begins. It is not a party, it is an explosion. The first day is a blur of unrestrained drinking. The pirates, freed from the strict rationing of the sea, consume the stolen rum as if it were water. By noon, most are staggering. By nightfall, the beach is a chaotic scene of loud, drunken singing around a massive bonfire, the flames casting their wild, dancing figures into sharp relief. You watch from the quiet shadows near the tree line, an alien observer in this ritual of oblivion. The second day, the gambling begins. Dice games and card circles form all over the beach. The silver and gold coins you so meticulously catalogued are now wagered with a reckless abandon that shocks your merchant's soul. Piles of wealth that men died for are won and lost on a single throw of the dice. Arguments flare up, accusations of cheating are met with the flash of a drawn knife, and Silas Croft is constantly moving between groups, his presence the only thing preventing outright bloodshed. You watch young Billy, his face flushed with rum and excitement, wager his entire share on a card game against a hardened older pirate. You see the hope in his eyes, the belief that this one hand will change his fortunes. And you watch as that hope is extinguished, his small pile of coins scraped away by the veteran. Billy is left with nothing but the empty bottle in his hand. By the third day, the holiday has descended into a kind of grim, exhausted madness. The initial joy is gone, replaced by a sullen, hungover aggression. The money is mostly gone, having circulated through the hands of the same few skilled gamblers. Fights break out over nothing, a misplaced bottle, a stray comment. It is no longer a celebration. It is simply a display of the crew's own internal misery. You see the beautiful, stolen silks from the Infanta being used as rags to clean up spilled rum. You see a man trade a priceless silver locket for a single drink. The treasure they fought and killed for is treated like garbage, its only value being its ability to purchase a few more hours of forgetfulness. As the third night falls, the fire has died to embers, and the beach is littered with the snoring, unconscious bodies of men who have drunk themselves into stupors. The devil's holiday is over. You sit in the darkness, the quiet lapping of the waves, the only sound. You came here thinking pirates were free men, but you see now that you were wrong. This is not freedom. This is a desperate, frantic flight from the emptiness of their own lives. They are trapped in a brutal cycle. They risk death to acquire wealth, and they squander that wealth to momentarily forget the life they are trapped in. They are not masters of their own destiny. They are slaves to their own appetites. And you realize with a chilling sense of clarity that you, the captive, in your forced sobriety and quiet observation, may be the only truly free man on this island. October 21st, 1718. The dawn breaks, not with the gentle glow of a new day, but with the harsh, unforgiving glare of a headache. The devil's holiday is over. The beach is a grim testament to the celebration, a wasteland of smashed crates, empty bottles, and the smouldering skeletons of last night's bonfires. The pirates stir from their drunken slumber, not with the cheer of free men, but with the groans and curses of men waking to the familiar pains of rum sickness and empty pockets. The elation is gone, burned away like the last of the firewood. The treasure of the Infanta, which had promised them all a king's life, has vanished in a 3-day storm of cards, dice, and drink. For most of the crew, the fleeting joy of victory has been replaced by the bitter, aching reality of being broke once more. The fragile camaraderie forged during the hard labor of the careenage has dissolved. Men who worked side by side now eye each other with suspicion and resentment. The winners of the gambling bouts hoard their small piles of silver, while the losers nurse their bruised pride and empty purses. The air is thick with a sullen, irritable tension. The spark ignites near the water's edge. A young, hot-headed pirate named Davies, who lost everything, confronts an older, grizzled veteran named Cobb, who was one of the night's biggest winners. "You cheated me, you old dog," Davies shouts, his voice raw. Cobb, who is counting his coins, looks up slowly. "I played the cards as they were dealt," he says, his voice a low growl. "You played the fool. There's no shame in it. Most men do." "I say you marked the cards," Davies insists, his hand dropping to the hilt of his cutlass. "And I'll have my silver back, or I'll have my satisfaction." The argument is all it takes. The rest of the crew, hungry for any distraction from their own misery, quickly forms a circle. This is the inevitable conclusion of their holiday. Silas Croft, the quartermaster, steps into the center, a look of weary resignation on his face. "The accusation has been made," he announces to the crowd. "The articles are clear, satisfaction will be had. Pistols at 10 paces, first blood only. We are not here to murder each other. You watch, horrified, as the ritual unfolds. 2 pistols are loaded. The men are placed back to back. They take their 10 paces, turn, and fire. The shots echo across the quiet cove. Cobb stands unscathed. Davies cries out, dropping his pistol and clutching his side, a dark red stain spreading across his shirt. The duel is over. Honour, by their brutal standard, has been satisfied. Sawbones is still dead to the world, someone shouts. Get the clerk, he knows how to stitch. You are pushed through the circle. You kneel beside Davies, the acrid smell of gunpowder sharp in your nostrils. The bullet has torn a ragged path through the flesh of his side. It is not a fatal wound, but it is a deep and painful one. As you work to clean the wound and stop the bleeding, the man does not thank you. He simply stares out at the sea, his face a mask of shame and fury. He has lost his money, his pride, and a good deal of his blood. Later that day, the Vengeance sets sail, leaving the squalid beach behind. The atmosphere on board is heavier and more poisonous than before. The treasure is gone. The crew is no longer united by the hope of plunder or the bond of shared labour, but divided by new debts and fresh resentments. You look at the wounded man you just treated, and at the sullen faces of the rest of the crew, and you understand the grim truth of their existence. Their lives are not a grand adventure, they are a desperate, repeating cycle. The fleeting, manic high of a victory is always followed by the long, miserable low of the morning after. They are now broke and angry, which means they are more desperate than ever. They must go hunting again, not for glory, but simply to feed the beast of their own despair. October 24th, 1718. The ship limps through the calm seas, a vessel of sullen ghosts. The duel has left a scar on the crew's morale that is deeper than the wound in Davies's side. The treasure is gone, and the men are left with nothing but their hangovers and their resentments. But the sea, it seems, is not yet finished with us. There is a change in the air, a deep, ominous shift that even you can feel. It begins subtly. The sea swell grows long and unnaturally smooth, like oiled muscle flexing beneath a calm skin. The air becomes heavy, humid, and difficult to breathe. That evening, the sunset is a breathtaking, terrifying spectacle of violent reds and sickly yellows. You see Silas Croft, the old quartermaster, staring at the sky, his face etched with a deep, primal worry. "The devil's breath," he mutters to no one in particular. There's a hurricane coming. His warning comes too late. By nightfall, the wind begins to moan, a low, mournful sound that slowly rises to a high-pitched shriek. The sea, so recently calm, awakens into a fury. The world transforms into a churning, chaotic landscape of mountainous, slate-grey waves. Rain begins to fall, not in drops, but in horizontal sheets that sting your skin like needles. The Vengeance is tossed about like a child's toy. Every wave that crashes over the deck sounds like a cannonball, threatening to smash the ship to pieces. The roar of the wind is a constant, deafening scream that drowns out all thought. In this moment of pure, elemental chaos, the petty squabbles and simmering hatreds of the crew become meaningless. The gambling debts, the duel, the resentment, all of it is washed away by the immediate, overwhelming threat of annihilation. Captain Morgan comes alive. He is no longer just a pirate. He is a master mariner, a man born of the storm. He stands lashed to the helm, his voice a raw, powerful roar that somehow cuts through the gale, barking orders with a clarity and confidence that commands instant obedience. His authority, so recently frayed, is absolute once more. The crew becomes a single, desperate organism. Men who were enemies just hours ago now work side by side. their movements fluid and efficient, their individual fears forgotten in the face of a shared terror. You are not spared. The first mate grabs you by the arm. No passengers in a hurricane, Clark. Grab a bucket and bail, or help man the pumps. Your life becomes a simple, brutal rhythm. Scoop, lift, heave, repeat. You work in a line of men, bailing the water that pours into the ship's hold. You work next to One-Eyed Finn. He is no longer your tormentor. He is just another man, his face a mask of grim determination, his muscles straining just like yours. In the face of the storm, your identities are stripped away. You are not a Clark. He is not a brute. You are just two men trying not to drown. The crisis comes near dawn. A wave of impossible size rises up before the ship. It hangs there for a moment, a moving mountain of black water, before crashing down upon you. The deck is submerged, and the ship groans as if its spine is breaking. The wave rips a section of the railing away and badly cracks the foremast. For a terrifying moment, the ship seems to lose its fight, threatening to be swamped, but Morgan's roar rallies the men. With Chips, the carpenter, leading the way, a team scrambles to secure the splintered mast with heavy ropes. You and the others bail with a renewed, frantic energy, a desperate battle to empty the sea out of the ship. As the sun rises, the storm's fury finally begins to recede. The wind lessens to a manageable gale, the waves to mere hills. The ship is battered, wounded, but she is intact. She is alive. You collapse onto the deck, your body a single throbbing ache, soaked to the bone and shivering. You look at the exhausted faces of the pirates around you. Their arrogance has been scoured away by the storm, leaving only the weary, fragile faces of survivors. The hurricane was a force of pure destruction, but it has also been a strange and violent baptism. It washed away their petty conflicts and reminded them that they are all just small, fragile men, their lives utterly dependent on the whims of the sea and the strength of the man next to them. For the first time since stepping aboard the Vengeance, you were not their captive or their clerk. You were simply one of the crew. October 25th, 1718, the world is born anew. The hurricane, after a final spiteful gust, has moved on, leaving behind a bruised grey sky and a sea that is as calm and flat as slate. The Vengeance is a wreck. Her foremast is a jagged spear of splintered wood, her sails are shredded ribbons, and her deck is a chaotic junkyard of broken barrels and tangled rigging. But she is afloat, and we are alive. A strange and unfamiliar unity holds the crew in its grip. The storm has scoured away the petty resentments and the sullen moods. In their place is the quiet, shared bond of survivors. Men pass each other a length of rope or a tool with a nod of mutual respect. Even One-Eyed Finn gives you a grudging glance that is almost devoid of malice as you help him lash down a loose cannon. The arrogance of the pirate has been humbled, replaced by the grim determination of the sailor. Your world is now a symphony of repair. The rhythmic thump of the carpenter's hammer, the whir of the sailmaker's needle, the shouted orders to hoist a new spar into place. Under the direction of Chips and the captain, the crew works with a desperate, focused energy to mend their broken world. The ship is weak, wounded, and slow. You all know that in these waters, to be slow is to be dead. You are helping to re-spool a frayed line when the cry comes from the lookout. It is not the excited shout of a prize, nor the panicked shriek of a storm. It is a single, sharp word, laced with a new and chilling kind of fear. Warship. A silence falls over the deck, broken only by the sound of a dropped hammer. Every head turns to the west. There, on the clean line of the horizon, is a silhouette. It is not the boxy, heavy shape of a merchantman. This vessel is long, sleek, and bristling with the unmistakable geometry of power. Captain Morgan raises his spyglass, his hands steady. He holds it to his eye for a long, silent minute. The entire crew watches his face, waiting for a verdict they already know. When he lowers the glass, his expression is one you have never seen before. It is not the command of a captain, nor the fury of a pirate. It is the cold, still look of a hunted animal that has just heard the baying of the hounds. Royal Navy, he says, his voice flat, but it carries across the deck with absolute clarity. A frigate, 36 guns by the look of her. The fragile unity of the survivors shatters in an instant. The fear of the storm was a primal terror, a battle against an unthinking force. This is something worse. A hurricane is an act of God, but a Navy frigate is an act of the king. It does not pass. It hunts. It represents a different kind of ending, not a swift death in the waves, but a slow, formal journey to the gallows. You look at the distant ship, at the clean, white sails and the perfect, orderly row of gun ports. You see the flag flying from her mast, the red cross of St. George, the flag of your own nation. A sight that should bring you comfort instead fills you with a complex and sickening dread. Your rescue might mean the death of every man around you, men with whom you just survived a battle against the sea itself. The frigate alters its course. It has seen you. It is turning to intercept. The hunt has begun. You look at the faces of the crew, and you see the pirates vanish, replaced by the terrified faces of cornered men. You realize the terrible irony of your fate. The hurricane did not kill you. It only held you in place, wounded and weak, long enough for the real monster to arrive. The law is coming, and in this small, lawless world of wood and rope, there is nowhere left to run. October 26th, 1718. There is no debate, there is no vote, there is only the cold, hard calculus of survival. The Royal Navy frigate is a lion, the Vengeance, a wounded jackal. To fight is to die, the only option is to run. The captain's voice cuts through the crew's frozen terror, sharp and clear. All hands make sail, every scrap of canvas we have, chips, secure that mast as best you can, mister. Finch with me. The disciplined chaos of the storm returns, but this time it is powered by a different kind of fear. The crew scrambles up the rigging, frantically unfurling every sail, patching tiers with desperate haste. You are summoned to the captain's side, where he and Silas Croft are already hunched over a chart. The wind is in our favour, but she'll outsail us in open water, Morgan says, his finger tracing a line across the map. We cannot outrun her, we must outwit her. The first day is a grueling, spirit-breaking race. You watch as the frigate, a beautiful and terrifying machine of order and power, slowly gains on you. Her white sails are a perfect, menacing geometry against the sky. Her progress is relentless, inevitable. By late afternoon, she is close enough that you can see the figures of sailors on her deck. The pirates work in a grim, disciplined silence, constantly adjusting the sails to catch every breath of wind, their eyes constantly flicking back at the predator on their heels. As night falls, the frigate lights its lanterns, a string of cold, watchful stars pursuing you through the darkness. The pirates do not light their own, hoping to lose their hunter in the black. Morgan's gambit begins just before dawn. He alters course, turning not towards the empty expanse of the open sea, but towards a jagged cluster of islands marked on the Spanish chart as Cayos de los Huesos, the Keys of Bones. A place known for its treacherous reefs and unpredictable currents. She is a deep-drafted warship, Silas explains to you in a low voice, his eyes fixed on the approaching dawn, built to fight in the open sea. She is a bull. We, he says with a grim smile, must be the Wasp. You enter the archipelago, and the nature of the chase transforms. It is no longer a race of speed, but a deadly ballet of nerve and skill. You are now a vital part of the machine. The Spanish chart is spread before you, and you call out the dead captain's warnings. "Shallow passage ahead, Captain," Vargas notes. "A sandbar to port." Morgan, his hands firm on the helm, expertly guides the Vengeance through the turquoise water. The men fall silent, their attention fixed on the swirling currents ahead. Lookouts are posted on the bowsprit, their voices calling out the depth. By the mark, 5.25, less 5. The sound of the lead line, the chanted numbers, becomes the rhythm of your survival. You feel the ship's keel scrape against the sand, a gut-wrenching shudder that runs through the deck, but you pass. The frigate, forced to be more cautious, begins to fall behind, her captain unwilling to risk his mighty warship in a maze he does not know. The climax comes in the late afternoon of the second day. Morgan aims for a narrow channel between two small rocky islands, a passage that looks impossibly tight. "It is our only chance," he says to Silas. "The chart says it is deep enough. If the Spaniard was right, we live. If he was wrong, we die here." He steers the Vengeance into the gap. You hold your breath. The jagged rocks of the reef are so close you could almost touch them, a blur of colour just beneath the surface. The ship groans, her timbers complaining, as she scrapes through the tightest point. And then you are through. You look back. The frigate has come to a halt at the entrance to the channel, completely blocked. For a long moment, there is silence. Then, a puff of white smoke blossoms from her bow. A single cannon fires, the ball skipping across the water far behind you. It is not an attack. It is a gesture of pure, frustrated rage. A ragged, weary, but triumphant cheer erupts from the crew of the Vengeance. They have faced the full might of the British Empire, and, through sheer skill and desperate cunning, they have won. As the frigate turns, defeated, and sails back towards the open sea, you stand on the deck, your heart still pounding. You look at the cheering, exhausted men around you. They are not a drunken mob now. They are the finest sailors you have ever seen, and you were one of them. Your knowledge, your voice helped guide them to safety. The relief you feel is overwhelming, but it is poisoned by a new and startling realization. You were not praying for rescue, you were praying for escape. October 28th, 1718. The elation of the escape has curdled into a cold, grim reality. We are safe, but we are also trapped. The Vengeance lies hidden in a shallow lagoon, a wounded beast licking its wounds. Out in the deep water, we know the frigate is waiting, a patient predator patrolling the edges of our archipelago prison. Our supplies of food and fresh water are critically low. The ship is barely seaworthy. The unity forged in the chase is beginning to fray under the immense pressure of our predicament. We have outrun the lion, but now we are starving in our burrow. That evening the captain summons a council. You are brought to his cabin not to participate, but to observe and, if needed, to read from the charts. The senior pirates gather around the table. Silas Croft, the quartermaster, his face looking older and more weary than ever, a glowering one-eyed Finn representing the fighters, and Chips, the carpenter, his hands stained with tar, there to give a stark assessment of the ship's condition. The captain unrolls a chart on the table. "The situation is plain," he begins, his voice low and steady. "The frigate is out there. We cannot stay here. Chips tells me the mast will not survive another storm. Our provisions will last a fortnight, at best." He looks around the candle-lit cabin, meeting each man's eye. "We have three paths. We can surrender, we can fight, or we can run. Speak your minds. The articles demand it." Silas Croft, the quartermaster, speaks first, his voice the tired rasp of a man who has seen too many endings. "The life is over, Morgan," he says, addressing the captain directly. "Woodes Rogers holds Nassau. The Navy hunts us in these waters. The great account is closing. I say we take the King's pardon. It is a dog's life they offer, but it is a life. A chance to die in a bed, not choking at the end of a rope. We have some plunder left. We divide it. We go our separate ways, and we vanish." A murmur of weary agreement comes from some of the men. But one-eyed Finn slams his fist on the table, making the candles jump. "Surrender?" he roars, his face contorted with contempt. "I'd rather burn in hell than live as a crown-forgiven coward. They hang men like us, pardon or no pardon. We came to this life to be free, not to crawl back and beg for scraps from the King's table." He glares around the room, his single eye burning. "I say we patch this ship as best we can, and we go out in a blaze of glory. We wait for the dark of the moon, and we take that frigate with us to the devil." Now, a different murmur fills the room, one of fiery, desperate pride. You watch this final political act of their dying republic. It is the eternal debate of their kind, the pragmatism of the survivor versus the pride of the warrior, hope for a long, quiet life versus the desire for a good death. A long silence falls as all eyes turn to the captain. This is his final test as their leader. Morgan looks from Silas's weary face to Finn's furious one. He does not choose either path. "We will not surrender," he says softly, and Finn grins. "And we will not die in a pointless fight," he continues, and Finn's grin vanishes. Morgan leans over the table and points to the secret Spanish chart you discovered. "We will run," he says, "but not in fear. We will run to a place they cannot follow." Vargas's chart shows another passage, on the far side of this island chain, a place called Maracaibo. It is a hornet's nest of smugglers, outcasts, and privateers who have no love for the English crown. It is a free port where we can sell our plunder, properly repair the Vengeance, and disappear. But to get there, he adds, his voice dropping, we must pass the frigate one last time, in the dark. A new energy fills the cabin. It is a plan of sublime, desperate audacity. It is not surrender, and it is not a suicide run. It is a final gamble for true freedom. It offers the hope of survival that Silas craves, but it requires the courage and defiance that Finn demands. The council is over. A decision has been made. You sit in the corner, a silent observer to the end. You have just witnessed the heart of these men laid bare. They are not just thieves. They are men who have chosen a life outside the world, and they will risk everything, not just for gold, but for the chance to die on their own terms. And you, their clerk, are now a part of this final, desperate gambit. November 1st, 1718. The dark of the moon. The ship is as ready as it will ever be. Chips and his crew have worked miracles on the wounded mast, bracing it with timbers and a spiderweb of new rope. The remaining sails have been patched. The cannons are double-shotted. There is a quiet, focused energy on board, a grim sense of purpose that has replaced the fear and the anger. Tonight, we run the blockade. Tonight, we either find a new life or we find our end. You spend the day in a state of heightened awareness, your senses sharp, every detail seems significant. You watch one-eyed Finn, not in a drunken rage, but sitting calmly on a barrel, methodically sharpening his cutlass with a whetstone. The rhythmic shing, shing, shing of steel on stone is one of the few sounds on the quiet deck. He is not a man afraid of battle. He is a man preparing for his life's purest purpose. You see other men preparing in their own ways. Some gather in small groups, passing a bottle of rum back and forth in a quiet final communion. Others sit alone, staring at the impassive green wall of the jungle. lost in their own thoughts. Young Billy approaches you, his face pale, and asks you to write a short letter to a mother in Bristol who will likely never receive it. You do so, your quill forming the simple words of love and regret. As the afternoon sun begins its long descent, casting golden rays across the deck, you find Silas Croft sitting on a coil of rope, mending a frayed line with a sailor's palm and needle. It is a mundane, familiar task, a small piece of order in the face of the great uncertainty ahead. You stand near him, watching the sky begin to burn with colour. "A fine sunset," the old quartermaster says, not looking up from his work. "It might be our last," you reply, the words coming out quieter than you intended. He looks up then, and a weary, knowing smile touches his lips. "Every sunset is a man's last, Mr. Finch. Most just have the luxury of not knowing it." He pauses his work, his gaze turning to the horizon. This life, this great account, as we call it. It was never going to last forever. The world is getting smaller. More rules, more laws, more Navy frigates. A time for men like us is passing. "Do you regret it?" you ask. Silas considers the question for a long moment. "Regret?" he says, his voice a low rasp. "No, I regret none of it. I chose my chains. Most men are born into theirs chains of a king, a landlord, a wife. I chose the sea. She's a harsh mistress, but she is an honest one. She'll feed you one day and drown you the next, and she never pretends to be anything else." He looks at you, his eyes surprisingly clear. "You've seen us at our worst, Mr. Finch. Drunk, greedy, foolish. But you saw us in the storm, and you saw us in the chase. That is the part we fight for, not the gold, the freedom to be the masters of our own damnation." The sun finally dips below the horizon, and the world is painted in fleeting, brilliant shades of orange and purple. A profound silence settles over the ship. The time is near. You retreat to your corner as the last light fades from the sky, leaving only the cold silver of the stars. Silas's words echo in your mind. You think of your old life, your own chains of ledgers and contracts. You came aboard this ship as a captive, a victim of their world, but you are no longer that man. You helped them navigate. You shared in their fear and their triumph. Tonight, when they weigh anchor and make their final, desperate run for freedom, you are not their prisoner. You are, in some strange and terrifying way, one of them. The fear of what is to come is a cold knot in your stomach, but beneath it, there is a quiet, surprising calm. You have accepted your fate. November 2nd, 1718. The night is moonless and suffocatingly dark. A quiet order is given, passed in whispers from man to man. Weigh anchor. The only sounds are the strained groaning of the capstan and the soft lap of water against the hull as the Vengeance begins to move, a ghost slipping through the black, treacherous channel. You navigate the maze of reefs in near total silence for hours, your heart a cold, heavy drum in your chest. You clear the last of the rocks and enter the open sea. For a moment it seems you have made it. Then, a flash of orange light splits the darkness on the horizon, followed by the distant hollow boom of a cannon. The frigate was waiting. A geyser of water erupts 100 yards from your stern. The chase has begun again. This time, there is no intricate maneuvering. It is a desperate, raw race into the darkness. The frigate is faster, and the strain on your wounded mast is too great. With every gust of wind, the timbers groan, threatening to splinter. The warship is gaining. Cannonballs begin to whistle overhead, terrifyingly close. Just as the frigate prepares to pull alongside for a final, devastating broadside, Captain Morgan unleashes his final gambit. "Mr. Finch," he roars over the wind, "our accounts! The silver!" You understand. You and Billy haul one of the heavy chests of Spanish silver to the stern. "Now," the captain yells. With a final desperate heave, you push the chest overboard. It is followed by another, and then another, the entire treasure of the Infanta, sacrificed to the sea. As the frigate closes, its crew sees the strange flotsam in the water. Believing the pirates are scuttling their prize, they slow their vessel to launch a boat, hoping to recover the treasure. That moment of hesitation is all Morgan needs. He pushes the wounded Vengeance to its breaking point, catching a strong gust of wind and surging ahead into the darkness, leaving the Navy to its silver. In the chaos, a final cannonball from the frigate screams past, striking the stern, showering the deck with splinters. You are thrown against the railing, your head striking the wood. Dazed, you see the pirates, having succeeded in their escape, let out a triumphant roar. You see the frigate shrinking behind them. And through the haze of your concussion, you see a dark shape to starboard, a small jungle-covered island, a place you had marked on the Spanish chart. This is your moment, not a plan, but a pure, animal instinct for a different kind of survival. While the crew is celebrating, you slip over the side into the warm, dark water, the sounds of the Vengeance already fading as you swim desperately for the shore. Bristol, May 1719. You sit in a clean, quiet room in your employer's counting house. You were rescued weeks after your escape by a passing merchant ship, the sole, unbelievable survivor of the lost Nightingale. Before you lies a new ledger, its pages white and its lines perfectly ruled. You have been restored to your old life, but the man who holds the quill is not the same. Your hand is steady, but it is scarred from hauling ropes and patching sails. You can balance an account to the farthing, but your mind can still navigate a ship through a hurricane. At night, you do not dream of numbers. You dream of the roar of a cannon, the taste of rum, and the wild, terrible freedom in the eyes of doomed men. You are Alistair Finch Clark, a man of order, a servant of commerce. You have survived. You have returned. But as you look out the window at the ships in the harbour, their sails so clean and their purpose so clear, you feel a profound and unsettling truth. You were a captive in a den of devils for 9 months. And you know, with a certainty that will haunt you for the rest of your days, that a part of you never truly left. And so, Mr. Alistair Finch's long and harrowing journey comes to its conclusion, leaving him forever caught between the world he lost and the one he survived. You, too, now stand on a quiet shore, between the busy day that has passed and the vast, unknown ocean of your dreams. But you don't need to carry the ghosts of the Vengeance with you. Let the roar of the cannons fade. Let the snap of the black flag fall silent. Your only task now is to let the tide of sleep pull you gently away. If our story tonight helped you unwind, a quiet like of the video is always deeply appreciated. And if you'd like to join us for more voyages like this one, consider subscribing to Sail With Us again. Thank you for spending your quiet hours with me. May your own long day's journey come to a peaceful end. Until next time, sleep well.